Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. Sam, say hello.
Hello, I'm here. I'm alive. Come on, Matt. You're dry. Why are we looking at Steam, Matt?
Because I fell into Steam's evil trap and restarted the game, and Steam decided, ooh, now would be a great time to give you a quick update.
You know, we have disaster screens that you can deploy for just such an occasion. You know.
Do we?
Are you not set up with a disaster screen?
Probably not then. I've got a pause screen. I don't have a disaster
screen. Yeah, you
screen.
should use that. Set one of those up. Put it on pause.
I'll put it on pause.
Otherwise, you know, I'm going to be tempted to say that we should
there you go.
Play 2 Point Hospital.
That'd be cool.
It would be unusual, but it's not exactly what you want to do on live stream day for Hamburg Lübeck launch.
It's not really, no. So apologies, folks. It is getting there now. It seems to have found a second wind. So
yeah, we'll keep talking. No, imagine it's like the most informative podcast you've ever come across.
Yes.
You're also running the old holding screen.
Yes.
There's a new one. It's good.
There's a new one. Okay.
No, the new one's pretty. It looks like the I'm just saddened we don't get to use it enough. For those of you wondering what's going on, Matt decided it would be a great time to run an update on his build. And we're now seeing that was not actually the case. Are we?
To be fair, Steam decided it would be a great time to run an update on the build. Had it asked me, I would have said no. But here we are, regardless. We're getting there though. It's at 2 gigs out of 2.3 gigs, and it's going at valve time. So,
okay. Well, look. Let's start off with some actual interesting stuff, because us just chuntering on is not of interest to anybody. No, I have a whole separate channel for that. Now, Hamburg Lübeck. Why did we choose it in the first place?
Hamburg Lübeck was very popular on Train Simulator 2021, or whatever it was at the time it came out. Quite a long time ago now. It went down really well. People enjoyed it. It is an interesting route. It also has the benefit of being a sort of a sensible sized project for the team to build. Sorry, the right sort of mileage wise. But it's also got 2 major endpoints between Hamburg and Lübeck. So trains start and end, rather than you taking them over and then handing them over like some of the routes have got. So at this point you're starting at in Hamburg Station with a new service, and you're ending at Lübeck, or vice versa. So and that's really cool. It always feels better if you can start and end in a good place. So that was one of the things that we liked about that. Sorry, I just realised what's wrong.
That's all right. No. You can concentrate on multiple things at a time. You're a producer. It's your job.
I just realised why it thought there was a controller plugged into the machine, and I'm going to look a right idiot now.
Is it because there was a controller plugged into the machine?
It's because there's a controller charging, and apparently while it's plugged in charging, it acts as a controller plugged into the machine.
Well, it's just as well you're not involved in any kind of a technological career, then, because otherwise you'd look a right fool.
No, I would look a right fool. But anyway, I can now switch to other game.
Hey, we're back. Good. This is kind of the appearance you should have had when we started. Apologies for the brief technical hiccup there. That's the kind of thing that a 10-minute interlude before the stream starts often resolves. But 10 minutes wasn't actually enough for us this time around, so we improvised, and hopefully that was delightful.
Yes, exactly.
Good. Right, yeah, I'm about 1 notch too quiet. I don't know if you can ramp me up at all there. I'd clip if I make my preamp any louder.
I actually turned Teams up earlier on, so let me turn I'll turn the actual input on XSplit up a bit. We'll see how that goes, folks. Right.
Mr. Quicko Streams asks, will we ever do a giveaway? It's highly unlikely. You will not see me doing a giveaway unless I'm forced to. And it's not because I'm a Scrooge. It's because doing the giveaway thing, it's really easy to set up, and it's an absolute nightmare to get out the other side of. If we can avoid doing it. So never say never, but if you see me doing it, you'll know that I've been told to. Right, where are we? What are we doing in this first section? I noticed we're on the dev build.
Yes, we're on the dev build because this machine is just for various reasons at the moment. I actually don't have a machine in the building that's running on the shipping build, so we have to run on dev build. So you might see moderately lower FPS, but by and large it's running fairly well. So shipping build, which is what the public will have, will run better than this. It's but I was running it earlier on, to be honest. It's running fine. So yes, this should be the same build that everybody else has got in terms of the content that's in the pack. It hasn't been changed. So let me just get the brakes going. So we are in Hamburg Station. In fact, before we get the brakes going, why don't we just have a quick look at Hamburg Station, because it's kind of pretty, kind of lovely. This is the BR112 with the Dostos, which are the low door Dostos, not the high door Dostos, commonly found in Hamburg. Yep. This is Hamburg Station. So Hamburg Station, glorious structure, big open space, and instantly identifiable with these with the advert hoardings on the back, and the sort of the shop facilities there, and the big Philips logo on the front of the station there. So it's a great station.
To use those logos, sorry for interrupting. Mm-hmm. Did we talk to Philips to license it?
No. So the way that it works with fixed placements, as in it is a part of the building, the law does permit you to use it without seeking permission. However, if, say, they come back to you, so you're not allowed to use it for marketing material, so you shouldn't see the Philips logo on marketing material, and you shouldn't. As long as
Mike knows that, we're all good.
Yeah, it's all. One of the things is actually that the licensing team have a list of all of these places we've used logos, and they check and verify that they're all okay. I mean, haven't received a do not use from the vendor, from the logo owner themselves. And then the other thing is that if the logo vendor comes and says at some, so if Philips, for example, were to say, kind of rather you didn't, then we have to take it off.
Okay.
And because it's a digital product, we can do that. So that means we have a lot more flexibility to create realistic routes using real-world logos. That does not apply to moving transient objects, which is why the trains must be properly licensed.
So is that the equivalent of the W.H. Smith's stuff in Great Western now?
Yes, exactly. Because it's a fixed thing which is always there. You can be the law is slightly different versus a transient thing which is not always there.
Okay. Turn the face cams off so that people can see it in all its glory. We might as well.
Done.
That's all good. Matt uses a pretty good PC because obviously it's his development PC that we're playing on, and because we're running on a development build, it may look a little different to what you experience in the game anyway, but only a little different in terms of performance, not in terms of what's there and what isn't. Now, because the route is out already, you'll probably be able to find gameplay footage from other people on every platform circulating, I should say, out there already. So if you wanted to get a good idea of what it might look on a setup similar to your own, I'm sure YouTube will provide. Yeah.
In the first preview stream, we did it on Xbox Series X, so you get an idea from the first preview stream what it looks like on Xbox.
There you go.
Visually, if not frame rate, obviously Series X runs very, very high frame rate. And this is it running on PC. My PC is like a 6790 or something like that K. So it's really it's getting on, but it's higher. It was high end when I bought it.
And what sort of frame rate are you getting at the moment? People want to know.
At the moment, I'm getting about 40. So I imagine it'll be a bit higher on a shipping build.
Right. Now, just to clarify, just for those who don't know, we run two builds. Well, we run more than two builds, but the two main builds that we run, and a build is where it's all compiled and set up and good to go, is the development build, which is the one the devs use to work off and to test off while it's still being worked on, and then the shipping build, which, as it suggests, is the one that we're going to ship, the one that we're actually going to put out there. And the fact that it's called a shipping build is a bit of a throwback to the day when everything was on disc, or cassette even. These days you still ship it, but it's all digital.
Yeah.
Production build is sometimes what it's known as well.
Yeah. So in this instance, the main difference between a shipping build and a production build, sorry, a production build and a debug build, like test build like this, is how much work it's doing in the background. So one of the reasons that you might see this one jitter a bit more than you would on a production build is that it's logging. This is logging just tons and tons of things out, so that if anything happens, I've got a really detailed log of everything every signal was doing, all the things going on inside SimiGraph, tons of things being logged, which is really useful, but it does hit the performance, whereas on a shipping build that's all stripped out. It's much more minimal. There's other stuff going on. It's got the dev console and so forth that I can access to do various things. So there's more going on in this than there is in a shipping build. They cut the shipping build right back to the bare bones to focus on getting great performance.
So loading from Cassette. So TSW2 confirmed is coming for the Spectrum 128K. Yes, and you only need a C256,000 cassette in order to load it from.
4 of them.
4 of them. Yeah, absolutely.
18 years to load it.
Yeah. Now, I've seen someone say that the straight brake isn't currently working on and this is one we talked about the other day, the direct brake.
This is the loco brake. So this is
on
here.
On the 112 actually doesn't accomplish anything.
No, it doesn't. It was found.
Is that intentional?
No, it was found late on in the day, and turns out that that's actually a core bug in Unreal. I have no idea why this particular loco seems to find a core bug in Unreal. It's complicated. Obviously, why would Unreal know anything about loco brakes? It's not. It's the way the loco brake reads data files from a curve thingy tech jargon.
So, I know. Look, no, that sounds like flim flam to me. Why this one then, and not others?
I don't know. So I'm still waiting for the engineering team to just explain why this one. I understand what's gone wrong on this one, because the brakes use a curve. There's a file which contains curves and regarding how the controls interact. And for some reason, the curve for this one loads in as zeros. And it's been found to be a problem with the way that the Unreal loads these files in that has only so far ever happened on that one control. I don't understand why. That when they said it to me, I was like, really? But really? We've used a lot of these curve files. And, every route uses probably 50 or 60 of them because time of day uses it, passengers use them. And for some reason, this one control doesn't. So, and it's not even fixed in 4.26, so we've done our own fix for it. We're waiting for that one to go through the system at the moment. So yeah, unfortunately that one came up a bit late in the day. The kind of positive news, and I know this is no excuse, is that you really don't need the straight air brake anywhere near as much on this loco as you would on others.
Don't care. No, that's no good. No, you can't try and put a happy face on it.
I'm not.
I mean, you can say you can drive it without the straight brake. Sorry, the loco brake, but for it to not exist, that's not on.
No, I agree. What I'm saying is,
I'm waggling my finger at you, Matt.
Sorry?
Yeah, if you're waggling finger in your direction.
You go ahead and waggle. It's deserved.
So, yes, will it be addressed? Yes, it will.
It's being looked at.
Because fundamentally, because it's tapping into a core issue with Unreal. If we don't fix it for this, we will need to fix it for whatever comes along next.
It's horrifying.
So we might as well fix it now, and then we can fix it. There you go. So it's on the list. But I was saying in the chat before the stream began, we need to have a conversation about fixes, and other things that are called fixes but are in inverted commas. And we'll be doing that on next week's roadmap stream. So hold your horses on that one, and we'll have a longer conversation. We want to show off what this route is and what it's currently doing today, because that's why we're here. But we'll talk fixes next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Why are the landing colours a bit strange?
Landing?
They didn't look that strange to me.
What landing?
Did they look strange to anybody other than Liam? I assume that means the stopping markers. And why are the stairs fuzzy?
That was a screen space reflection artifact. Sometimes at very flat angles like that was, where because of the glass on the side of the stairs there, you can get that kind of effect on there. It's just green space reflection is a fudge to give you reflection at a fraction of the cost of reflection. It's been like that for a long time. In fact, that's just how screen space reflection works.
So what? That's the effect you get if the staircase in question has glass fronted.
Yeah, it had a glass on the side there. You can get similar on some of the locos. I might better do it on this one, but where if you look just down the side of it, you can see the reflection of the world in the side of the coach, and sometimes that can look really pixely. It's because of how screen space reflection works. It adds a lot having the reflection there, but reflections historically or normally are quite CPU expensive because you have to re-render a copy of the view essentially. Whereas screen space reflections can do it for virtually nothing. So you get the benefit of the scene, but there are downsides to it, and the combination of screen space reflection and temporal anti-aliasing means that sometimes it looks less than stellar.
You've got a lot of scientific words going on there, but I'm going to attempt to layman's term it.
Go for it.
It is a way of getting reflections at least partially appearing. It means that the quality might not be quite as brilliant as we'd like, but we can do so without it using up a heck of a lot of processing power. Yeah? No?
Yep,
yeah?
that's it, yeah. Screen space reflection uses virtually nothing.
So obviously, over time, we'll work on making it so that it doesn't use a heck of a lot of processing power and looks brilliant, but for the moment, looks so-so, but doesn't use much processing power is where we're up to. Greetings from Germany. Are you planning to add the 218 or S-Bahn service? I suppose.
Sorry, someone just noticed that the lights were off. I've just turned the lights on, so sorry about that.
Okay. We'll go through cab setup when we've got a bit of time at a station.
So there's no 218 on the roadmap. Would love to. I love the 218. But there's nothing on the roadmap for that. And S-Bahn services. Oh no, there will be no S-Bahn services on this route. So the S-Bahn services only run from Hamburg as far as there, and they turn up there. So it's 2 or 3 stations, I think. And then the rest of the S-Bahn, the entire rest of it, just is somewhere else. No, if there was a Hamburg S-Bahn, it would be its own product in the future. But that's an if and not a when.
Okay, so that makes sense. I mean, that's the kind of thing that route extensions would be really super for. I know that they're careful, don't go too close to that topic, kind of a topic. But it is another good way of, because we do quite a lot of routes, right, where you've got junctions peeling off that we don't run any services on at all, because obviously it's only a short section of track.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it'd be interesting once the tech is there to be able to explore that kind of thing. But in this instance, again, you could potentially do a Hamburg S-Bahn type route without needing that stuff, because you'd include enough of the main line to put some AI traffic in there on the main line. So it doesn't hold us back either, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing we'd love to do. How about the ICE? Does the ICE run on here as well? Because it does in the real world, but we don't have an ICE layer or something like that. No,
and in fact, so no, it doesn't on this route. It doesn't ship with it. Comes with an IC layer for the BR101,
right.
But it doesn't come with an ICE layer.
Gotcha.
No, the author of the timetable in the gameplay team was able to get the intercity layer in, but wasn't able to get the ICE layer in because he was trying to get other stuff working better. But this has actually become a bit of a passion project for him. So it's something that he's keen on. So, no, it's not something being worked on at the moment. No.
Someone else was saying earlier on, and thank you for your patience and not spamming it, is PZB. There doesn't seem to be any 500 megahertz magnets.
No, this came up on the last stream, and I haven't had an update from the team about what might be going on there, whether that's the loco or the or the route, because there are definitely 500 hertz magnets on the stream. I'll show you one in a minute. So I don't know whether maybe the loco is just not reacting to them somehow. So I will get an answer to that.
Presumably you've got PZB turned on now.
Yeah, I mean, I drove German trains without PZB. It's illegal.
Okay. Who was it? Zusi was saying, isn't the brake handle a little thin? I don't know. I don't know to compare.
Must admit, I've not seen the reference images for the real thing. So
there we go. The brake lever is too thin. I don't know to compare. But we use quite detailed reference material when building the interior of a cab, particularly. And while sometimes omissions are made, usually if we've built a control, it should be a relatively good facsimile of the real thing. If you use the forums, Zusi, stick up a compare and contrast screenshot and photo, if you would mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Wouldn't mind, because that's always very helpful for us.
Colour gradients on the individual cars' stopping zones seem reversed. Ooh, I'll have a look at that the next one. Someone else was saying earlier on they thought something was weird was going on with there. Nothing stuck out to me so far, but I will look now you mentioned that.
You stop in the green, right?
You stop in the green. But what I think they're saying is
not
that...
in the red.
Yes.
Which feels like I'm about to go into something from Bullseye, but I'm not going to.
I think what it sounds like is that the general trajectory of the red to green is right, but each individual one is flipped. I think that's what Mum's trying to say. So I'll look at that as we come into the next one.
Really?
Yeah,
that seems unlikely.
It seems highly unlikely.
Are they individually placed then? It's not just one thing that's overlaid.
It's automatically done by the game, so it would be weird if suddenly it's wrong on this route. But
well, I would say that the way that gradients work in this game is a bit weird, Matt. So weirdness. I think we're used to weirdness. We're used to weirdness, especially if the game's unsure whether you're going backwards or forwards.
Well, there is a reason for that. We do know the reason for that one.
I'm being glib. I'm being sarcastic because I know that solutions are in the works.
Yes. Talking about it.
Oh, and give us some horn action if you would be so kind. Okay, so this is actually our first northern German route, isn't it?
Yep, we're right at the very north of Germany. There's not much more north than this, Lübeck is the coastline into Hamburg. So yes, we're right in the north. So this is the furthest north we've been. Most of our routes have been sort of middle and south. But, Munich is about as far south as you can go, just about, before you run out of Germany.
Yeah. The Union Pacific says, when we decide a route, do potential DLCs factor into those decisions? And not so much. Usually when we do the decision to make a route is based on, can we make it? Do we think it will be popular? But occasionally, when we're making a route, we will think about how could this cross over with what we already have, rather than how could we cross over things with it in the future. Unless you've got any exceptions to that rule, Matt. I mean, that tends to be the way we work, doesn't it?
Well, it's a combination. Sometimes we do look at, when we're doing research for a route, it'll be like, oh, you need about 4 or 5 types of locos really to really nail this route. So that'll factor into because people do come to us and say, oh, we'd like more. Yeah, that is the wrong way. No, I don't understand that. They say, we'd like to have, more trains. This is my favourite route. I want more trains for my favourite route. So we do have to think about that as well. But it's the same as we think about, as you say, about how can I use this? How does this grow my entire experience, not just by adding one route or one train? It's like, how many more things can I do with this one thing that I'm adding? So we're trying to think about all these different factors. It's not just about, is it a great route to drive, but everything.
Okay, so we'll probably cover this when we get to Lübeck more, but someone was saying that they were surprised we didn't do the waterfront industrial area in Lübeck. Now, typically that will be because of performance concerns, right? So it's about how iconic something is in terms of its appearance versus how much of a performance impact it's actually going to have.
So
do you know
the
area in particular?
Yep, yeah. So just here. So if you carry on just up here, you've got the waterfront industrial area just up here, and I think in the Train Sim 1 version that's included. But the so when we looked at it, well, do we include this? Do we, or which way do we do it? What actually came up was that there was more of an issue with the fact that freight had no western termination. So you had all this loads and loads of eastern freight. You've got the big yard here, you've got the docks over here, and nowhere for it to go. And the way that it worked in TS1 was the freight just stopped at a station. So what we did was, rather than modelling the waterfront yard, which I think requires diesels and shunters, which weren't included in the pack anyway, we extended this bit out to Rothenburg Sort Freight Yard over here instead, which then gave a actually really substantial end point for freight services on the west, or start and end point in the western side of the route, rather than ending them at Wandsbeck, which is where we did it previously, which is random and inappropriate. So it's not a like for like swap. The docks is quite a bit more substantial than what Rothenburg's sort is, but it was a combination of you'd need locos which aren't included to take advantage of it, and there's a hole in the product on the western end. So let's make something more balanced.
Cool. Max says, why don't we ask players with a poll what route they want and not what route DTG want? We have done. And the response, there are 2,500 different route suggestions in there with varying levels of support behind them. And if you were to just take the top 50% in terms of the number of votes received, you're still looking at 400, 500, 600 different routes that are being suggested. When we're picking a route, we start out with what can we actually build? What do we think people will like? And it won't be a particular point-to-point service that we think people will like. It will be what type of service, what type of route will people enjoy? Based on everything we know about current player behaviour and historic player behaviour and what we haven't done lately. So, for example, US passenger is something we've not done for a while, and therefore it was the obvious choice of what we should focus on for this year's kind of summer release. Was a US passenger route. Now, just because people want it doesn't mean we can make it. That's the other thing to take into consideration. You'll be aware already that there are some limitations that we have with regard to how long a route can be. So our focus is always going to be on, given the amount of space that we get to play with, how much fun can we pack into that area? How many different stations, how many different services, how much variety in what you get up to can we put into one area? And then once we've got a short list of routes that we think tick that box, we then go back and look at the suggestions that we've received from players to see what level of interest that's actually had. And that's how we choose how to make routes.
Yeah,
otherwise,
we'd have
made the Orient Express already. And all of Eurostar. And let me tell you, the bit of Eurostar you'd end up with would be going from, I don't know, Ashford through to just the other side of the Channel Tunnel, and it'll be 26 miles in the dark.
Ashford to Calais, 160 kilometres an hour, joy.
Yeah, in the dark. Look, I'll tell you what, Matt, let's have a meeting on this, because I reckon I could knock that out. So as much as we want to make sure that everybody gets routes that they really like, there are limitations to what we can do, and there are limitations as to what we're able to make. But we always take into consideration stuff that people have asked for.
Very much so.
That route was in the original Microsoft Train Simulator.
So that was a route called the Tunnel, Liam, and bluntly, it was a route that everybody requested. So that someone in the community made it, and everyone decided they'd drive it once and realised it wasn't the route they thought it was, and never drove it again. It's my case in point, actually, for when a lot of people, talk to people at exhibitions and things about the Channel Tunnel. It's like, been there, done that. It's not the route you think it is.
And it's not as fun as you think it's going to be. It's a variety of different fun that makes a route the most successful. It's about being able to do express services, commuter services, freight as well, lots and lots of it. And there's no one rule that fits all people. All train fans have slightly different taste, and so we have to try and and fit that taste as much as possible. How do we accurately model stations? Do we have someone who get pictures and base it off of that? Pictures are the easiest way. That's what we do. So during COVID, when we were looking for, or during peak COVID, I should say, when we were needed resource material and reference material, then photos were what we relied on, and it's one of the reasons that we've done a few routes that were already present in Train Simulator, because we already had reference material. But more often than not, when we're not restricted in terms of moving people around, we'll send people out to go get a feel for it and take their own pictures, so that we can see the textures that the bricks are using, how the station actually hangs together, how the platform hangs together. We try and get first-hand experience, or our route builders do, to ensure that we can get as close as possible.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I know. I've been around so long, I know exactly how we do all this stuff now. You're just here to drive the train and look pretty.
Well, I can get 1 out of 2.
Yeah.
Someone else can
Does
drive the train.
112 always run the same way, or are there reverse formations?
So you drive the 112 is always on the same end of the train, I think. So you drive the 112 to Lübeck in the Lübeck direction, and you drive the cab car in the Hamburg direction, which is how they work in reality.
There you go.
So you wouldn't drive the 112 to Hamburg, no. That's the question is.
Right. You better do a bit of horn action again in the next couple of minutes, otherwise we'll start getting the demands in.
There you go, some horn. It does have working crossings, yes, to map. However, because of the way that the crossings are linked into the signalling system, which means that and the signalling system books its blocks quite a way in advance, which means that actually you'll never see them going down if you're driving the train. They'll be long down, but only before you get anywhere near them.
But you could use the free camera to go ahead of time.
Yeah, I did
to watch the crossing going down.
Yeah, well, no, actually, because it books it that far. Because it books it that far ahead, you probably wouldn't. You might be able to fly far enough ahead to catch it. What you could do is explore on foot and just stand at a level crossing, and you'll see them going up and down. I did that on the previous preview stream. Actually, we went and watched the level crossing going down.
Okay, Statman John. Just purely because I don't recognise the name, we don't tend to talk about specific routes that are not currently in planning or in development within these streams. Otherwise, we open a floodgate of everybody then asks for the route that they want. And as I indicated a couple of minutes ago, there's a lot on the request list. So we can say is that our intention over time is to cover all the routes everywhere, but that's going to take quite a long time to get to. So it's not an issue that you ask the question, more a case of if we answer it in any kind of a detailed fashion, I'll immediately get asked about another 500 routes. Does Cathcart Circle include the branches? We're not talking about Cathcart Circle today. We'll talk about Cathcart Circle when it's a little closer to release.
Demoniac said how to use the low horn button on the keyboard. It's the N key.
Low button on the keyboard.
N key is horn low, space is horn high.
Yeah. Does this route include the automatic PIS system?
Yeah, this is the newer PIS system. So this is you haven't got a screen where you can set the PIS, so that would normally be done on this FT95 thing. But what it's doing is it's automatically gathering the details for the PIS, for the loco, and for the coaches, are coming from the route and from the timetable. So if you put this train on Southeastern High Speed, it will have destinations showing from Southeastern High Speed, for example. It's got the latest of the PIS systems.
There you go. Will the 112 be layered onto Colnarken?
I must admit, I haven't looked to see what other routes it turns up on. I don't think it goes there in reality, but I haven't looked to see whether it substitutes. It's not been layered, but I don't know whether it substitutes, which would be an automatic thing.
Really, and it is simply a case of a couple of button click and the replacement is made, or how in depth is it to actually add those in?
So I mean, if you want to add a layer, when we want to add a layer, it's authoring essentially a sub-timetable, sorry, just got a deceleration coming up. If you for substitution, it is just a case of making sure that various automatic parameters match up. Just wait for it to slow down. There we go. So, for example, in the formation, the locomotive in that formation will say, I can be substituted by anything with a minimum of 4 axles, a minimum of this much horsepower, and a minimum max speed of this. And then when the game looks at all of the stock, so you buy a DLC, it will, when you next time you run it, it will include that new DLC in the decision and say, you've got enough axles, you've got enough horsepower, you've got enough max speed, maybe I'll choose you this time. And sometimes that's why you'll see something that comes out after the route is made suddenly showing up in content that hasn't been authored with that loco in mind. It's one of the nice things about the dynamic substitution in service mode.
That sounds quite scientific. How do you know if it's worked or not?
We've got tools that let us list all the possible combinations that a given formation can have. So when we add a new loco, we can look at some sort of key form. Right, I think it should turn up on Colnacken in these formations. Let's run the tool on these, and you can see if it pops up in the list of candidates that it's considering. But we also just play test it when we're running it to so we're expecting it to see on these routes. Let's just go and see if it shows up in the list of player selectable on the menu, then it will be considered for substitution in appropriate formations as well. That's usually a good indicator. If you can drive, like for example, the freight services on this route will let you drive the 185.5 from Bangor Rostham. The fact that it will let you pick it means that the AI can pick it. It's a little bit brute force how we test it at the moment, but we have got some tools that are starting to help us sort of automate that testing a bit.
Okay, all right, fine. Fladenbrot, what about multiplayer? Go and have a look at the roadmap. If it's not on the roadmap, we're not currently working on it. The roadmap's there to let you know what we are working on. There you go. So the 500 hertz magnet did not just trigger.
No, it did not.
All right, put that one on your action item list as well.
Yeah, I will.
I mean, look, if you once you've started playing with PZB, there's really no going back.
No,
it has so much more concentration requirement that you've got to keep your eyes on it.
Missing the magnet. Okay, I will find out. It's not that the loco wasn't supporting it; it just isn't there. This is a 1000. No, it's a 2000. Okay, yeah. So we're missing the 500 hertz on that. Okay, that's fine. I can go on and ask about that.
Hold on, what's Gaming Bro's question? It seems to be like a dog with a frisbee. He's asking repeatedly about the same thing. Are we talking about Cathcart next week? Tune in to the schedule at the start of the week and it will let you know what we're talking about next week. But Cathcart isn't a million miles away, so we're getting closer to it being talked about.
Right, let's do a little cab car before we do a little freight. Start at Lübeck.
Question about the 112. When driving with PZB, how are you supposed to slow from 160 to 90 in under 23 seconds? I can only manage this by using close to e-brake because everything else doesn't react fast enough.
So I had a similar question with the team myself, and we've checked the brake rates, and it is difficult. Now the brakes do apply relatively slowly, but the one thing that I have been told by a number of people is you should be braking before, not when you hit the acknowledge button. Because it's not that you've got to slow down. It's worse actually. It's not that you've got to slow down from 160 to 90 in 23 seconds. It's measured by a speed curve. So if you're doing 160 as you go through, and you don't react fast enough, then within 2 or 3 seconds the emergency brakes will actually come on. So you need to be decelerating, following the speed curve down to the 85 kilometers per hour. It's not 90, it's 85. So it is possible, but you have to. Yeah, you do need. It's a full service application. Is what actually, if you look at the deceleration rate on the coaches and the train, and what you need to get from down in 23 seconds, it is pretty much a full service application that's needed. And you need to apply it a little bit in advance of the indication happening, and then it's not a problem. So certainly, whenever I've asked people on like a beta forum and so forth about, how is this done? They say you should be slowing down before the signal, not because I was always waiting until the signal, acknowledging, and then applying brakes. And they're like, "Wow, why are you leaving it that long?"
But if you've got winter conditions going on, how is that even possible?
If you're driving in winter conditions, you should be driving to winter conditions, which means you shouldn't necessarily be driving at full line speed, and you should be giving yourself more time to slow down anyway. Same as if you're driving in a car.
Does the timetable give you more time to slow down?
No. No, it doesn't.
How are you supposed to get a cheeky gold in winter?
Well, it's more difficult, isn't it? Winter is always going to be more difficult to drive.
It's more difficult. Okay, well that's an answer, I suppose. No, so yeah, it's one of those things that's going to come with line familiarity. Would be my diplomatic answer. Is when you know that you've got a speed limit change coming up, then. And you know it's a tricky one to hit, then as you build up experience, you'll know the right time to start braking for that. And don't forget that if you're doing this for real, with a real train, they're not just going to turn you loose when you don't know the route. You will do quite a bit of route learning before you're allowed anywhere near it. So I'd imagine over time, as you become more familiar with the route, you'll learn to slow down appropriately and still hit the schedule you're supposed to.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone said, how do they do it in reality? But this is how it works in reality. I guess what I wanted to say was this is a question I specifically asked because I fell over it myself when I was testing it, and as a result, the performance of the brakes of the coaches were improved, but the advice was no, you should just be braking earlier. You can see the signal is adverse long before you're anywhere near it, so you should be behaving like you're expecting it.
Yeah. Cold full milk was the one. Sorry, I should have used his proper name rather than just translate it. Kalter Volmilk asked the question and was just hoping that there was an easier answer than learn the route.
There is. Keep your eyes open, watch what you're doing, because you can see the signal coming up, so you can be braking before you hit the acknowledge button. And if you do that, you'll easily do it every time. Okay,
all right. Valentin is asking whether you can use repainted Dostos from Rapid Transit with the 112 instead of the 182.
I don't think so, no. I don't know if the formations have been set up to do that. So I'm going to go with probably not, even though I've not tried it and I don't know the answer 100%.
We've got a few different situations where there are multiple versions of effectively the same piece of rolling stock or the same train. Are they not? How fun? What's our view on making them interchangeable with one another?
So the reason that we don't, so if you've got Dostos, one of the reasons historically we wouldn't have made them interchangeable is it would just needlessly use memory, because you'd have two coaches instead of having two of the same coach or six of the same coach in a train, which uses one lot of memory and then a little bit of extra for each of the other ones. If you have three different identical coaches in that consist, it's using 3 times as much memory. And there's no value for that, no benefit for that whatsoever. And what you can't do, what I think you really want to do is to say, no, I want all the coaches to use these other ones which can do the livery designer capability. And even then, substitution wouldn't let you do that because you can't define the formation. That's why we've generally not done that. Now, substitution does now have to be enabled, because otherwise livery editor stuff wouldn't appear. So what I don't know actually is, because substitution is enabled, if that means that you will now get this sort of random crossover from other routes turning up. I've not actually looked to see what impact that's actually started having on things.
Gotcha. When you're selecting a train, there are 4 default Dosto liveries. What are the differences? Oh, what is the difference between just picking a different livery and picking a different the different model?
Sorry, I don't quite follow the question.
In terms of use, if we can have different liveries, is that not the same amount of pressure as sticking a different vehicle on? So Dosto A versus Dosto B, for example. Or have I lost you? I could probably answer it myself, actually.
Yeah, go for it.
A livery is pretty lightweight, whereas a full vehicle model is actually pretty heavyweight.
Yeah.
And by weight, I mean in terms of the amount of pressure it puts on your system. So, no, I mean, I suppose you could switch the whole use of a model, so you could use the whole of Dosto A versus Dosto B. Don't know. And Matt's concentrating on not wrecking this run, and therefore I think we might have lost him.
No. I am listening, and no, it's difficult and it's awkward. So, as someone suggested, wouldn't a consist maker just solve this problem? And the answer is yes, it would. Unfortunately, making a consist maker it's much easier to say than do. It is something that's been looked at in the past, and certainly I'd love to do one, but it's complicated for science reasons. Yeah, that's why it's not here right now. So yeah, that's. I'm not sure how else to add on.
No, that's okay. Engineer Kenny asks, why is the 218 not included with this route as it was in TS1? Well, the first answer is that more often than not, we tend to only include 1, maybe 2 different trains with routes these days, and that's largely because the amount of effort that goes into making a loco is significantly more complex than it was in TS1. And you'll notice that the price difference doesn't reflect that level of extra complexity. What is the difference in making a loco between TS1 and TSW, Matt?
If I put a number on it, it's about 10 times.
Really, as much as that?
Yeah, it's about 10 times more complicated. If I look at sort of, the time spent and so on and so forth, then it broadly comes out as being about 10 times more difficult to make compared to a TS1 loco. Because of there's extra detail, simulation side of it is a lot more complicated to set up. There's a lot more detail goes into the simulation side of it now. There's a lot more detail goes into the art. Coaches have got full-on interiors, which they never used to have at all in TS1, there's a lot more interactive controls in TS World models. So it's combinations of lots of different things that actually mean that locos are significantly. Routes are about the same. It's a lot more difficult to make. Going back to the original question, why didn't we include a 218? We thought about the 218 when the route was originally released. It was sort of more diesel era with the BR218, and one of the bits of criticism that came back at the time was, well, that's not what that's why is there no electric? Why is there no modern trains? So this one of the reasons we thought we could make this one different to what came previously was to put different trains on it. If I remember rightly, the BR112 was actually a DLC for the TS1 version, whereas this time around it's actually part of the pack, and then there's other things could go onto it later on if we want to do that.
Okay, I hope that gives you. I know it's not an answer that makes you go like, oh yes, well I'm now happy. That's not the kind of answer that makes people happy, but hopefully it gives you the insight to understand at least why it is, even if it's not the route to happiness you might have hoped for. And to prove that we're happy to do this kind of thing, where is it? No, I saw it. Hang on. Fellow me lad. Night Raven says, try switching to the external view. There's a bug on the cab car where the screens disappear for a while when jumping back to the seat view.
Yes. So that I'll see if I can demonstrate that. if I go way away from the screens and then hop back in, you see how they flicked on and flicked off. It's because the screens switch off as a performance optimization. If you're nowhere near them, or if you get beyond a certain bubble, they switch off.
In fact, you'll notice further optimization along those lines. If you do use the free camera and let the train go absolutely miles away, you'll get a loading screen when you hop back to the train.
Yep.
Because it's loading it back in again. And rather than have it load piece by piece in front of your eyes, which is a bit of an immersion breaker, we'll mask that with a loading screen.
Yes, yeah, it does that because you've let the thing. So we keep driving the train even though it's nowhere near you, and the route is no longer in memory that it's driving on, but the way your camera is where what we've got loaded in memory. So when you press 1, we move move you over to where it is, and it's got to load everything in. So yeah, but you find the rain effects are a similar story. You'll find when you move away from the train and come back in towards the train. When you've got rain effects on, you'll see the rain has gone away and come back again. It's because there's actually a bunch of processing and graphics elements in managing all of the rain on the windows. Why do it if you can't see it? So they just get reset. Now, ideally, it would be better if it could save the state and resume it. But where we're at the moment is it just stops the rain effects. Otherwise, we had actually an example back when we first put rain into the game, where every train was doing all its rain effects all the time. And you can just imagine the delight on the frame rate that was.
Absolutely. Where is it? Michael, I saw your comment a moment ago. So saying that Train Sim is like an older sibling and not an identical twin. No. I think the best way to think of it is that Train Sim is closer to being a silent movie versus the full technicolor and sound that is provided with Train Sim World. It is as big an evolution. Now, in terms of appearance, it's obvious that Train Sim World has got the edge there, but in terms of the amount of processing effort and work hours that go into making this stuff, it is enormously more complex. Now, what you aim for is that over time you develop the tools to go along with that complexity to ensure that actually a lot of this auto-populates or self-generates, or, for example, adding passenger information screens to stations is that it becomes a module that you plug in rather than having to rewrite the whole thing from scratch every time. But at the same time, there is a lot more complexity that goes into it. And when it comes down to the train models themselves, how many polys are we rocking? How many tries? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head, actually.
Yeah, we need Derek for that. If Derek's listening, ping me on Teams, Derek. But the way that you will often compare a generational shift in terms of video gaming and entertainment software is that you will count up the number of vertices that are used in creating that model, the number of polygons, the number of triangles, and the number goes up significantly.
In addition, I mean, it's not even just the vertices; they are a level higher than TS1 models, but not that substantially higher. It's actually texture detail and the way the materials are layered on and so on and so forth. They are another layer of complexity. And in an Unreal-based game like TSW, there's PBR that needs to be catered for as well. The physical-based rendering, which means that you get, instead of having just a colour on a place on the screen, it can actually react to light so that it looks like it's plastic or it's metal or it's organic or something like that. And that's a task you don't even do in TS1 when you're setting up, because TS1 doesn't support PBR. So there's a number of elements like that which need to be taken into account.
No, Michael, no need to. We try and spell it out in a. Or Matt doesn't. Matt tries to spell it out in science, and I try and interpret that into a way that humans can understand. Alex is saying that it's 250 to 300,000 polys for locos in TSW versus a recommended limit of 80,000 in Train Simulator.
Let go. Can we have some horn?
You can have some horn. Go for some more. Is the max speed sticker in the cab correct?
160 km/h is the maximum speed on the Dostos, yeah.
On the Dostos, but not on the Loco.
The Loco's 160 km/h as well.
Is it really?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the reasons that, for example, on rapid transit, even though the BR182 can do 230 kilometres an hour as its actual top speed, and then in theory there are parts of rapid transit in the real world that would support that, it's hauling coaches which are only rated for 160 kilometres an hour, which is why the train can only still do 160 kilometres an hour.
Mm.
It does say somewhere on the side here, there you go, 160. That also states the maximum speed of the coaches as well, if I remember rightly.
Right.
There's lots of technical information on the side here. It's worth researching what it all means, because none of it's here for the fun of it. It's there to tell everybody what's going on.
It's information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Is PBR a cheap version of ray tracing?
No.
And there's a follow-up question. What's PBR?
So physical-based rendering is how. So what is the diff? So if you imagine you've got a sheet, you've got a square in front of you, and that square is red. What is it that makes a red square plastic? Yeah. What is it that makes a red square metal? What is it that makes it look rough, or matte textured? It's still red. So how do you achieve that? Now TS1 has a set of fixed materials which give you the ability to make something shiny or make something flat. Whereas in Unreal, you've got ultimate flexibility in that instead of relying on the shaders that come with the game in TS1 and the sort of the limited set that it provides, in UE4 you just create a material and set that up, which is just dropping boxes and sticks inside their little editor, where you can just add multiple textures, and one of those textures says all the bits I've marked in this colour are actually reflective. All these bits I've marked are actually going to show off as matte textured, and you combine all of those layers together, and that's what makes parts of the Loco look shiny, some flat, some look like ground textures. For example, you don't want it, platforms that are a stone sort of texture,
Right.
should look different to a train. But if they were both coloured black, you would have no way of doing that properly without PBR.
Okay, and so what does ray tracing do by comparison then?
So ray tracing is a rendering technique. So ray tracing is how you manifest. So if you imagine inside the memory, inside the processing power of the GPU, the graphics card, it's built up that scene. It knows what that scene looks like. How does it express that on the monitor? And you can either use the forward or deferred rendering systems they use at the moment to generate the scene, which use a bunch of approximations of how does light reflect and all of these things. They've actually really historically been very, very complicated to do until the ray tracing capabilities on graphics cards. And let me just start this. So they would approximate a lot of this stuff and do an increasingly good job of approximating it, but by approximating it, they're able to do it at ridiculous frame rates, whereas up until these ray tracing cards came out, you'd be talking minutes per frame or hours per frame if it got a complicated scene. The likes of Pixar historically, which would use a ray tracing system to render all of the frames inside a film, they would be they have farms of hundreds of computers which would take a week to render the movie. And you don't want to play a game with that kind of horsepower. So that's why these cheaper techniques that the graphics cards, 3D cards, starting with the original 3DFX Voodoo cards, they were the first ones to really come up with a fast way of doing it. But now we've got enough horsepower and processing power in graphics cards that they're able to actually do real-time ray tracing, which is where you actually literally trace the rays of light. You bounce rays of light around and see what happens and how it lights the scene up. And so they're able to do that at decent frame rates, depending on your GPU. I think starting with the RTX 20,000 series cards. And they are phenomenal. They are genuinely phenomenal what they can do. Now, we don't support ray tracing. It has to be supported by the game to actually enable it. And that's not just something you turn on. Because when you turn on ray tracing currently inside Unreal, for us, it looks bad. Because the whole scene effectively needs retuning to work. Because now you're giving it effectively real light not fake light. And so everything just needs adjusting to make that look right. But in theory, when it does, it'll look a lot better.
Are we going to get RTX support at some point?
You know, I'm going to say I'd like to. I don't know the answer to that
Okay,
at the
we
moment.
don't have a plan.
There's no plan to do it at the moment. It's on that long wish list. There's lots of things I'd like to do.
Because Unreal supports it, right? But that doesn't mean that you just push a button and all of a sudden RTX is magically happening.
No. In fact, I tried it and everything crashed horribly. But like I said, even if when you turn it on, because you set some options inside Unreal and switch it over to using ray tracing, and then it spends, I don't know, 10 or 20 hours rebuilding all of the graphics internally, and once it's done it, you then run the game up and you find it doesn't look right, and then you have to go and tune everything, like I said, because you're now presenting real light instead of the fake approximation. So the game has been lit according to the fake approximations that standard prior to ray tracing techniques are using, and the way that, you know, any errors, any things that's not quite right would be forgiven essentially in the current rendering system.
Right.
Whereas in a ray tracing system, it would be utterly unforgiving, and you have to get it right. It's a bit like the simulation level of detail. You can't get, you know, a valve the wrong size on the brake pipe down a train, because actually for such a minor setting, it would have a massive impact on the way the train operates. So as you get more realistic, so everything has to be more realistic to sort of back that up.
There you go. Let's avoid going down too many PC only rabbit holes there, because we are a broad church, and therefore we'll try and stick to more general subject matters. But there you go. So a little bit of insight there into the complexities of chasing ray tracing as an opportunity. There you go. Fascinating but mind-boggling. Matt Jamka, yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I mean, and the level of science that goes into some of this stuff is really quite staggering. You know what we should do? I had a thought about this earlier. Is that we need to do a load more behind the scenes stuff. Of actually, you know, let's spend an hour with a vehicle artist or an environment artist or the sound team, showing us exactly what's going on. You know, how they go about doing their work. Because building appreciation is all important, right? You know, building an appreciation of what goes into making things. It helps enormously when you realise actually there is quite a lot more to making yet another talent too than I would have expected.
So just while I'm in here, for anybody that wants to run this train via Scenario Planner on a route that's got LZB, this is the button that isolates and unisolates LZB. So you want it in the out position. You're saying normal, and then LZB will work as soon as it gets the trigger that says LZB is enabled. So it won't happen on this route. But that's because I've seen some people asking at other points, well, where's the switch? That's where the switch is.
Yeah. Pian makes a good point, actually. We're not even on DX12 yet. That's DirectX 12. And people are asking about ray tracing. Yeah. What's the story with DirectX 12? He says immediately going backwards into a PC zone.
Well, actually, ironically, it's not even just a PC zone. We do actually support the X12, but only on Xbox. It's mandatory for Xbox because the Xbox One doesn't support the X11. But I can't remember what the reasons are we don't support it on PC. There are reasons it doesn't work on PC. I know that some people there is a command line parameter which people have been exploring on the forums for enabling the X12. Personally, I wouldn't recommend it. Because it's a standard Unreal option. It's not something the game has consciously provided. It's a standard Unreal option on the command line. And some people find it runs better and some people find it runs terribly worse. And that's why we haven't gone to the X12 yet. We need to smooth all of that out and just make it better for everybody. And that's just, again, it's like things like ray tracing. DX12 has to come first before ray tracing can happen.
How come the PZB lights on the dash are working for you, but they don't on the PS4? Says Only Me.
I believe it's a.
Is that one you knew about?
This is something, again, it came up right at the last minute, and the engineering team were looking at it to find out why. This has happened on another loco as well. I think the BR101 had it, where it worked on one platform and not on others. Or another, I think it was just PS that it didn't work on. And it turns out to be just the code is executed in just enough of a different way that things happen in the wrong order and things don't work properly. So the fix for the learning from the BR101 has been applied now to the 182. Now remember, I'm also running a dev build, so it may be that there are other fixes. You might
already be seeing a fix in action.
Yeah, you might be seeing a fix. This could be like the Bakerloo line challenge all over again. But I know that they looked into it and they found that it was a load order, it was an execution order problem again. Now that it's come up twice, the engineering team are taking the various teams aside to educate them on why this happens and how they can avoid it going forward.
Noni asks, will it give an FPS boost to move to DX12? Try it and find out, but don't be too surprised if it crashes horribly at the same time. Roy asks, will there ever be a train sim World 3? Yes. You heard it here last. There will definitely be a train sim World 3. Now, the question that you want to ask is, when will there be a train sim World 3? To which the answer is, check the roadmap. If it's not on the roadmap, we're not actively working on it. There you go. See, this is where I pretend like I'm about to announce something major, and then I tell you that I haven't announced anything at all. Rui Fonseca, can we talk about the graffiti on this route and LGB Mediterranean? Do we replicate real world graffiti, because they're protected by copyright?
They are indeed protected by copyright, so no, we don't replicate real world graffiti. And in fact, our art director Derek is back in his youth used to do not actual graffiti in the vandalism sense, but from an artistic sense. He did projects on that he was asked to do, and they used to enjoy doing that kind of thing with a group of them, and they did. So he's got a creative flair for that side of things, and every now and again, he and 2 or 3 of the other artists just go a bit crazy and create some more decals that can add to the growing library of graffiti that can be used to just make a route feel a little bit less clean and polished, essentially.
How is graffiti copyrighted? It's illegal gang tagging. No, not necessarily. No, it's an unauthorized artwork. Now, whether you see it as artwork or not, that's what it is in the eyes of the law. Now, ownership of that copyright can be difficult to ascertain, because it being unauthorized, sometimes it can be the copyright can be owned by the building owner rather than the artist that painted it in the first place. Either way, it's protected by copyright, particularly if it's something famous. So all those people ripping off Banksy stuff and sticking it on T-shirts and posters and all of that kind of thing should expect to hear from Banksy's legal ninjas at some point. Yes, Banksy's public domained quite a lot of this stuff. But even so, in the main, graffiti is owned either by the artist or by the owner of the building.
The bottom line is you have to assume you don't have rights to use it. If someone has created a thing, you don't have rights to use it unless you get rights, or you've been told you are given rights. And it doesn't matter how distasteful that thing is, or inappropriate, or vandalism. It's a thing. You don't have rights to use it. So your best bet is just to. And to be honest, it means the team can get creative. A lot of the graffiti you see on these routes are effectively tags from some of the artists. Like Gravy P is our lead route artist. So it's actually a bit of fun for the team, to be honest. It's a bit of way of them expressing themselves in the route, in ways other than donkeys.
J4V, I'm Goose on today's stream. You've got Matt in the front seat. Right. Why can't you walk under the underpass at Barg to Hide?
I don't know if it's from.
I'm reasonably good at German, but that's a word that that defies pronunciation, or at least allows you to trip over it. You can't walk under the underpass. We can't always model everything. There is only a finite amount of stuff we model, particularly if it doesn't go anywhere, at which point you're going to tell me, but it goes to the other platform, in which case I don't have a good answer.
I'll have to go and have a look and find out, if there was a reason why that's been. We don't, like I said, we don't necessarily model all the underpasses. As if there is a way of getting from platform to platform, that's all that we mandate that the team provide. But if there is no way to get there and you still can't use the underpass, that would be a problem. So I'll go and have a look and make sure that it does at least allow the required amount of access.
Okay. Mig Mad Marine, when will the new shipping containers, with the new shipping containers, will they be implemented as freight, and will we see them on other German routes? So how? Okay, well let's talk in a more general sense. When we bring a new loco in, sometimes we'll do a straight replacement into other routes. So we'll do a substitution into other routes. Does that also translate for appropriate freight wagons and cargo?
So freight wagons can potentially be set up for substitution. In fact, the system has the substitution system has a mechanic that we don't really utilise that much for other reasons related to the cargo loads, so the weight of cargo. But what it can do is it can replace the entirety of a train with a different set of wagons with various randomised formations. We used to use it, some of you might remember in the early days of Sandpatch Scrape, we had it on there. The problem with it is that it doesn't understand cargo loads, which means every wagon becomes unloaded. And we kind of think that for the loss of some randomisation, the ability for all of your wagons to have proper loaded weights to them is far more important. So at some point that system needs to be upgraded to support actually loading the cargo as well as just swapping the wagon, but it can't do that at the moment. What it's effectively trying to do is load the original wagon's cargo into the substituted one, which doesn't work. So yeah, that's how that is. In terms of cargo containers, at the moment, no, cargo containers are mapped on the wagon themselves. So the wagons that come in this route have these two branded wagons, the Hapag Lloyd and Hamburg Sud wagons are mapped onto that, and it just picks one of them at random. When when another route comes, which has got, say, the 1 containers on there, it'll have 4 containers. It'll have those two plus the 2 1 containers on it. And at the moment, it doesn't do container substitution, which I would love to do, but it doesn't do it at the moment. So it's more about cargo loads. Really need to get a little bit clever with what we can do there.
I'm with you. Okay. Well, that sounds like a decent feature that actually would add quite a lot of variety to when you play through.
Oh yeah, very much so. We'll need that if at some point, when one of the other requests that comes up a lot, which again I'd ideally love to do, is livery supplier support for containers. So you'd need the ability to be able to substitute containers at that point. It becomes mandatory. The system doesn't work. So. But no, we're waxing lyrical at the moment, just to be clear. This is.
I'll spell it out. You don't worry. I'll cover us. I've got your back.
Good,
man. You fly. I'm goose in this one. I've got it. It's all right.
Excellent. So yeah, there's some really cool, fun stuff. But yeah, I'm saying these things just so that I can, you hear it. We hear you, and we agree with you, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, there are a heck of a lot of features that the community routinely ask for that we go, yeah, absolutely. No, we totally want to do that. And then it just becomes a question of actually finding the time and booking it in. And the number of things that we are trying to find the time and book in is enormous. We have a ton of things that we want to do, and that would just cover the what have we already got and how would we make it better before you start thinking about, well, actually, what else can we add to really improve things? So as with all other suggestions, you are more than welcome to make them on the forums, and we keep track of everything that is suggested, and when it actually starts getting worked on, it will turn up on the roadmap. But no, a variety of I could merrily spend all day making a bunch of different containers of my own, if I would see them on every route.
Yeah,
that would be beautiful.
And containers being a relatively straightforward shape, they're a blank sheet of paper. You could have so much fun with them, I think.
The Mig Mad Marine's telling me not to pull the special yellow and black stripy handle. It could be bad for me health.
Bad for all health.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and there will be no more Great Balls of Fire after that moment. Are they ever going to let me drive again? Yeah. When the time comes. But usually I'm here to make sure that your questions are channeled in the way that you mean them. That's why I'm here. Der Gamer 8, I should say. Is there going to be any way of seeing the progress of each country for the community challenge for rush hour? You know what? That needs an update. I'll poke a few people and see if we can get an update as to how that's coming along. Because we know that people are quite keen on doing this international challenge that's going on. I don't have the black MRCE 182 on this route. I'm playing on Xbox. Is this normal?
No, it isn't. I don't know why that would be. If you've only just freshly downloaded the route, try rebooting your console, because sometimes we've seen people that are they've managed to get the game started and the route running before actually the Xbox has technically finished downloading it all. So only some of it seems to work. It's really weird because it shouldn't be possible to do that, but we've seen some weird situations, and just restarting the game or restarting the console has just made all these weird problems go away. But no, the MRC 182 is a standard of this route. You should have it. If you don't, raise a support ticket.
Yeah, no, it's always worth doing a full reboot to make sure the stuff is showing up correctly. I've got Mike on the hotline. Progress on the community challenge can be seen on the Train Sim World 2 website, so you can go and get live challenge updates there. Meanwhile, here are the numbers. In first place at the moment, you've got Germany with 31.7 thousand. Then in second, it's the UK with 15.3 thousand, and then in last place, but only just, is the US with 12.6 thousand. There you go. Germany's not just winning; they're out front and flexing. They're stood there, winning the World Cup again.
Come on, just get America and UK back in the game. We can do it, folks.
Yeah. Does the road runner work?
Yes, it does.
It does?
You should hear it in a minute.
Good. Someone else was asking about RE8 and RE, one of the other ones that, here we go, the new ZZA from Hamburg to Lübeck only has the last station on it and not the line 2.
I know, it doesn't.
Normally there'd be RE8, Hamburg, Hauptbahnhof, but there's only Hamburg Hauptbahnhof.
Yes, it does. That came up. It was identified, and the team are looking into sorting out. I mean, we have complete control over what we can put on those displays. I'm not sure why that was missed, and the team are looking at it. So, again, I can't put any timescales on that, but yeah, it needs to be on there because it looks wrong without it. I completely agree with you.
We should have a dedicated information screen artist. Let's hire one. Let's get someone whose job it is to properly replicate fonts and dot matrices and all of that kind of business for all of their myriad uses that we have.
Someone's asking about what's the...
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, make me feel validated.
No, you're right. You're right. We should, and we've got people that do well at it, but they missed the ball on this one. So
it's not the only one. I'm just saying. I'm coming for you, Adam. Okay, but that's Tuesday. Sorry, no, we'll talk about that on Tuesday. There you go.
Jan was asking about what the key is for the Roadrunner, because normally what you do is you just double click it, and that's how you can do it. The same applies to if you just make two quicks. If you just double click A, or double click D, that does exactly the same job, and that will then give you the Roadrunner beeps in a moment's time.
There you go. What's a Roadrunner?
That. Well, you didn't hear that.
No, I didn't. I'm playing on Pauper Vision.
So the BR182, and actually a number of different trains, have a train length indicator or meter. And because let's say for example, I go past this, let's say it was a speed limit sign, and I want to now wait until the back of the train has gone past that. As I go past it, I double click the throttle, which in reality is literally I push it down. You push it in, it's sprung.
Right.
And what that does is it starts a counter off. It measures how far you're going, and at the distance of the length of the train, so say you've got 1,000 metres of train, after 1,000 metres it goes beep beep. And
I see. So it lets you it gets you a feel for how long the train is.
Yeah, so
Right.
if you know you've got a speed increase that you're going past, you're not allowed to speed up until the back of the train has gone past that point.
Yep.
Now, you would,
Yep.
if you're more experienced with driving a train and you're always driving the same length, then you just know that it's 16 posts away you can speed up, or when that funny tree with a strange branch goes by. But if you're driving an unusual length train, then a train length meter indicators are really useful, because you go past the sign, double click the thing, when it goes beep beep, you know you are safe to then accelerate without any problems.
Can you give us a demo at the next signal? People will be fascinated.
So if I
There you go.
so I've just double bounced.
There you go. Chris Chavez says, but how does it know? It's Germans and science, Chris. They're Germans are dead good at all this technology business.
There you go, the alarm just went off.
They are. Okay. How long is this train, incidentally? Just out of interest.
It's 311.6 meters.
312 meters. There you go. I'm rounding just to make life easier for people.
So how does it know? In reality, the way they know is that when the driver logs into the screen, the train, one of the things he does on the screens is he actually will program it and tell it how long the train is. The driver knows that because when he takes the train over, he is given a sheet of paper, and that tells him where his train will be, what it's going, where basically his work order. He programs that into the train. The train knows how fast it's going, and therefore it knows.
And it knows how long it is.
And it knows how long it is, which means it now has everything it needs to do that.
It can do science.
Exactly. Yeah, it's quite straightforward. So essentially, in this instance, the setting up of the train is done automatically. It knows because the game tells the train how long it is, but otherwise than that, then it can just measure it. There are other trains that have that functionality in the game as well, but this is the fun one because it's got the this does not, for the avoidance of any kind of doubt, this does not say meep meep. This says beep beep for licensing reasons.
We
real
do
train
not copyright infringe Warner Brothers.
No, we do not. The real train does have the actual Warner Brothers Roadrunner sound, but that's a separately licensable beep beep or meep meep sound, which may not be worth the price of admission. So no, ours is an artificially recreated beep beep, which is strangely close.
And just to double confirm what the chat's already saying, if you want to use the Roadrunner on your console, it's double tap accelerator.
Yeah, or brake.
Or brake.
Just move the throttle lever twice in rapid succession. That's enough for it to detect it.
There you go.
Doesn't have to move by any particular amount. Just literally 2 short taps that it moves on is enough for it to trigger it.
There you go. Yeah, that's good. Oh, you see, now I learned something there. Yeah, there we are. Can you do this manually? Surely it is a manual process. You set it and it then releases on itself, unless I'm missing the...
No, I think he's saying, can you update the computer manually the way that the real drivers would do it? No screens are not implemented.
Boo. Okay, fine. Do you know off the top of your head which trains are using the Roadrunner?
Well, this is the only one that actually has a Roadrunner. There are other trains. I think like the Class 66 has a train length. There's a button you press on the left-hand side to enable train length. I think the AC 4400 has it. I honestly can't remember off the top of my head which ones have got it, but there's a few, and it's a fairly common feature in all countries. It's not just a German thing. But they don't. Only this train has the actual. They call it the Roadrunner. That's its actual name. But it's a train length indicator, and it's on a range of different trains.
Yeah. Wing Zero says gaming. It does feel like it's only been a short time since the last route was released, but that's purely because we run multiple teams. We have multiple teams both inside and outside the company who work on route building, because it's trade secret. It's what our business is built around, you know. No, yeah, absolutely. Is that we want to provide enough routes so that everybody can pick their favourite. We don't expect people to buy all of them, you see, because if you're a fan of German heavy freight, you're unlikely to go and buy a little commuter route somewhere in rural England. So we try and make sure we've got stuff that appeals to everybody, because we know we're not going to sell that many of them. But that means we have multiple teams constantly working on new routes. And that way there's always something fresh for you to come look at. And if you go, it's quite expensive to build up my collection that way, wait for a sale. They go into the sale readily enough. And that way, by the time, if you wait for a sale, you'll have already seen all the user reviews, and you'll be able to look it up on the YouTube there and see what it actually looks like in action, and make an educated decision of whether it's for you or not. There you are. Oh, you're not complaining. Oh, I see. I went into my standard, gosh, they make a lot of DLC defense mode that sounds reasonable and actually explains why we do it. Oh, well, I should have saved it. It's just going to sound like I'm reading from a script when I do it next time. But there you go. And when would the next sale be? I'm not going to tell you. Don't be daft. No, why would I tell you? Come on, Minnie, work it through. And I am not going to tell you when the next sale is, because then if you were on the verge of pulling the trigger on buying Hamburg Lübeck today, you kind of go like, oh, so the next sale is only insert number of days here away. Well, I won't pay full price then. I'll wait a couple of days and pick it up then. You always pays your money. You take your chances when it comes to sales. If you're on PC, Xbox, or PlayStation, you should already have a reasonably good feel for how often sales come around. Basically, if you buy it at launch, then that's got to be a route that you really, really want. Otherwise, just leave it a little bit of time, and you'll get to save a bit of money on it. Artful wants to know what will the next community manager challenge be. It's going to be East Coast Way, the next one. I'm still picking out the service, and I'm fairly certain it's me, you, Adam, and Natalie as the four runners. Yeah. Good.
Someone was just asking about what that blurry train was. That was it's something the engineering team are looking at. It's a 423 artifact, and it's something to do with motion blur. The trains, it's like the model thinks it's travelling at speed, and it's therefore motion blurring. It's weird, and it's completely random, which means the engineering team are having an absolute nightmare trying to reproduce it. Which just makes bug fixing, challenging and fun.
We need to get JD involved as well soon. JD was in the last one. If you missed it, we did Peninsula Corridor, and he did remarkably well. He was a little bit nervous and couldn't figure out how to shut the bell up.
That was his first one.
But no, he did very well.
It was not an easy train to drive either.
It wasn't an easy run, certainly. And spoilers? No, I'm not going to give you spoilers. Go watch it. It's a good one. It's a fun video, that one. It's on YouTube now. Yeah. Roy's question was, I've seen the answer, and therefore I've got a pretty good idea what the question was. I just want to double check it. If I bought them all, then my Xbox dies. Do I lose them all? No, you don't. But this doesn't matter if you're Xbox, PlayStation, or playing on Steam. Is the routes that you own are tied to your account, and therefore, if you switch to a new PC, if you're on Steam, or you upgrade your PS4 if you're on PlayStation, or your Xbox melts down and you have to get a fresh one. As long as you are tied to the same account on your new piece of kit, all the things that you previously owned, you still owned. Rail driver support for all trains in Train Sim World 3. We're not making Train Sim World 3. Not at the moment. So there you are. Yeah.
Adam's team have been adding rail driver support. I think the latest update had some rail driver additions in there. It's a process.
Now, this is just me, locking horns with people who think saying Train Sim World 3 is hilarious. We did it one time, and now it's the only thing they can remember. And anyone who says that it wasn't a good deal is wrong. Lord Snable is the next community manager challenge where you're for side-by-side recordings. Yeah, that's the only way we do it, because we want to make sure we want to make sure of two things. First, that it runs smoothly, and secondly, so that the level of banter can remain high. There you go. Yes. If you buy something each sale, you can use your purchase history to work out when to expect a sale. There you go. Mark using some forensics there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. No, that's very good. Taser's going to skip TSW3 and wait for TSW4. I'd wait for 5. No, even numbered TSWs, they tend to be transitional phase. Hang on, we're on an even number TSW. Oh heck, I got that the wrong way around. They're like Star Trek movies. Only the even numbered ones are any good. There you go. That'll do.
Great minds.
Yeah.
Slightly more obscure reference would be via VAX VMS versions, but that was the same.
Yeah. How come TSW2 on Series X you still have to restart when supporting smart delivery, so all progress should be kept? It's because your progress is not cloud stored,
well,
right?
actually, we've been looking into it, and it looks like it might be cloud stored, which means this may not even be a problem. So what I don't want to do is set an unrealistic an expectation at the minute.
We're investigating.
We're investigating it.
Stop talking. I know where you're going. Stop talking. We're looking into it. There you go. Because you were about to say, "Oh, we can fix that," but unless we are actually fixing it, let's hold fire on that one. I'll roadmap it when you've got some certainty.
Yeah, let's do that. That's a plan.
Right. There you go. No, I knew exactly where you were driving at with that one. Right, there you go. Having gone back to TSW 2020 Play NEC the other day, you can see how much TSW has changed. Its subtle changes, like lighting sky. It is better. And they say, P. Yan, where were you this time last year? You could have, convinced people then with your advanced future knowledge. I mean, and this is the thing with Train Sim World, right? It's a good example, and that is that it is in constant motion moving forwards. Now, if you look at it on a day-to-day basis, you're not going to notice that it's in constant motion moving forwards. It's only when you take a longer-term view that you see how it's evolving. And a lot of the evolutions that are made are quite subtle, but they add up. We don't make big strides as often as would be lovely. Nice tractor. But we do make a lot of evolutionary moves forward that overall improve the game. Yes. Someone wrote on DC that he found a way to upload routes to a cloud, and other people download it and put it in a DLC folder and then play those routes. Does that really work, or is it a scam? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. Alternatively, it also sounds like a good way to do what we like to call software piracy. And as people whose day-to-day work in exchange for currency revolves around people actually buying things rather than just nicking them off the internet, we'd really rather you didn't do that. Thanks. There we go. So yeah, if someone's suggesting that a free lunch is available, take it with a pinch of salt.
Yes, be very careful what random instructions you follow on the internet that you don't necessarily understand. It might not be doing what it says it's going to do as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. Where are we heading to, incidentally?
We're heading for the freight yard, but we can stop any time you like. We've got about 14 kilometres to get to Rothenburg Salt Freight Yard,
DTG don't really have any competition when it comes to train sims. We wish we did.
Yeah.
Competition really helps. It makes such a big difference in being able to have more people tackling the same problems from different angles, because it doesn't matter whether you're making a first-person shooter or a flight simulator or a train simulator or any other game. The more people trying to tackle the problem, the more all of them improve, because you get a good sense of, oh, they've figured out how to deal with that. That's really interesting. So yeah, we don't shy away from competition. We love it. The more the merrier, frankly, because people turning up. Absolutely love Derail Valley. You know I love Derail Valley. Matt loves Derail Valley.
I do as well. I play it all the
we
time.
all love Derail Valley. Very rarely does a day go past that I go, you know, we should steal their manual system, right? That would, because the way that the instruction manual is in the game is beautiful. And I don't play it 3D. I only play it. I don't play it VR. I should say. I only play it to.
I've got a science helmet. It's even better.
A magic science helmet. I coined that phrase, you know.
I did. I love it.
But no, just that alone is amazing. What do we think about SimRail? We won't know anything about SimRail until they release it. It's too soon to tell. That anyone can make the right sounds. I mean, we hope it's going to be great. You know, we really genuinely do hope it's going to be great. But at the same time, you know as well as we do that until you've actually got your hands on it, you're not going to experience it for real. And it might look shiny and whizzy and splendid, but sometimes what it looks like and what it ends up being, they're not exactly the same thing. So we're looking forward to it. Yeah, there you go.
So I was saying, sorry, it's been asked that the wheel slippage for the BR101 be fixed. It's actually not a bug. So it's a characteristic of the BR101 that it has a behaviour called super slip, which is where the loco will actually overdrive the wheels to the point that they are just slipping, because it can get a little bit more acceleration out of it compared to just making it not slip. So it's actually performing exactly as it should, but the way that the HUD works, it shows that as a wheel slip, even though it's actually a controlled wheel slip. There's some other trains that can do it, in, like, for example, some of the American trains do this creep, what they call creep control is another word for it. I think it is.
Right.
But no, the BR101 behaviour has been implemented by the German author who did it, specifically because that is how it does actually work. Oh, it's a light loco going the other direction. Whee!
Oh, nice. Oh, there's a thing. That's good. How many trains in TSW have got rail driver support at the moment?
Well, it's quite a few now, and it's growing all the time.
It's at least
I don't
a dozen,
have a number.
right?
Yeah, it's probably, it has to be. Well, I'm sure it must be, because there's a bunch of trains just in the core. I mean, everything released since the start of TSW2, and including TSW2, now has rail driver support. And Adam has released in the latest update, there's something like Long Island and so forth now supports rail driver as well. So there's some of the preserve collections starting to now gain that support as well. So it is growing all the time. It's really cool to see.
Okay, the next one was passenger announcements. Dear Gamer, tomorrow night is your stream. Not tomorrow night, sorry, I'm thinking about when's the next stream I'm on.
Next stream is your stream.
The next one that I'm on is the one you want to tune in for. The roadmap streams, we do a lot of general questions. In terms of passenger announcements, just remember this. Until it's on the roadmap, we're not working on it. We want passenger announcements, but it's complicated. Technically, it's somewhat complicated, but in terms of scripting and recording and getting all of that kind of stuff done, it's a lot more complicated. So there's no plans to do so at the moment. Could DTG and licensed railway brands advertise and market together to increase the visibility of TSW2? Again, ask that one on a roadmap stream. In fact, I covered that when we talked about licensing before on the roadmap. Jump. There was another question I was going to ask. Oh, why did we end up with the wrong step Dostos? For those of you who don't know already.
I mean, it's essentially it was looking at the Dostos that we had in the library, and because in the real route they have the high door Dostos, and what looks like a relatively straightforward change is actually basically building an entirely new coach from scratch. Because of the different structure of the coach, and just put simply, there wasn't room in the schedule for it, so a decision was taken, and we can decide if that was a right or wrong decision. We're certainly listening to that feedback, that we would go with the Dostos that we got.
Yeah. And I mean that's unfortunately falls under harsh reality of what we do. Is sometimes you end up with a decision of, do we do it one way or another way, and both ways will use the same amount of time, but both ways you have a limitation with regard to what you've actually delivered. And we have to make a call in those situations. So we knew it was the wrong height Dosto. We didn't feel that it was as much of an issue as people have said that it is. So we're listening very carefully to feedback on that front. But at the moment, the Dosto that comes with it is the Dosto that comes with it, or Dostos, I should say, plural.
Yeah, I think it's 2 different coaches and a cab car.
Mig Madmarine, we don't want to talk about licensing. It's not a fun topic. I mean, we're happy to do it on a kind of conversational basis, and the word will spread over time. But spelling it out on paper, it could actually make life a little bit more difficult for us when we do try and negotiate licenses, because it sounds like it sounds like we've got a formula worked out or something like that. Whereas the truth is there is no one formula.
No, there isn't.
Yeah.
It's very much it's a conversation that you have with the license organisation, and you find a common ground, to where everyone thinks it's a cool idea. So it's our licensing team works really, really hard, and sometimes some of the stuff they do is more straightforward, and sometimes it's incredibly complicated. But they do an amazing job, and because of what they do, we get to enjoy trains with real world liveries on them, which just makes them so awesome.
No, that's what makes the big difference. Let's have a bit of external camera. What do we think about the cracks found on Great Western Railway trains? Goes to show that bugs get shipped in even things that cost tens of millions of dollars, pounds, euros, pick a currency, tens of millions. They ship with bugs too. We're sympathetic, and we're glad it was found before anything serious happened.
Yeah, it's very fortunate.
Yeah.
This is the right time to find it.
Yeah.
Someone else say, Blue Games, what's a Dosto? Dosto is short for Doppelstock, which is a double-decker coach. So the red coaches that you see on the passenger trains in Germany, they're double-decker coaches, and people just refer to them as Dostos.
There you go. Right, can we say anything about the Series XPX5 updates upon release? We can talk about them upon release. Now, I realise, Gordon, that you're now regretting your wording there a little bit, but unfortunately, that is the answer. We'll talk about it a little bit more as we get closer to rush hour, as that's when it's coming along. Scott says try 7 billion. Okay, well, all right. Well, 7 billion's worth of trains apparently can have fairly severe problems with them. And our little 24 quid train simulator it also has problems with it. There you go. We're replicating reality.
Simulator.
No, some people will say it's not simulating that because there are collectibles, and therefore that's not a simulator.
True. There's a big speedo on the bottom right corner of the screen as well, and a score.
And yet, there are collectibles in the real world's world of rail fanning. Those collectibles, notably, being the unit numbers.
Yep.
If you're a spotter. Yeah, I'd say that makes us more authentic. In your face, haters. Right, when's the community challenge end? Actually, I don't know. Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know. That might be one for...
If Mike's still listening, he'll let me know momentarily, I'm sure. But or if somebody else already knows, they'll probably say. So I like the phrase someone called Gameulator. I just call it a game. It's something you play with. But then I'm not a massive simulator aficionado, you see. I just play stuff that I enjoy. 24th of May, says Derek. See, I knew someone would know. 26th of May, says Dog God. See, I knew someone would know. May, late, sometime around then.
A little while from now, yeah?
Is when it expires. Mike's typing. Mike will know. I bet your money Mike will know. 24th of May is the right answer.
So, get playing. We want to get everyone... Let's make this a tight competition.
The Germans have already won.
No, we can do it. Come on, folks. We can do it.
They've already won. They're up 4-0. It's injury time. Yeah, they are. Good. Right. Okay. Is there anything else people want to see of this before we wrap it up for today? I know you're quite happy with me and Matt just chatting on and generally answering your questions, but we got places to be and people to see and all of that kind of place. So is there anything else you'd like to see from this particular route, which is available right now, that you can purchase with your own personal spending money?
I'm just actually arriving, so if you haven't seen it yet, this is the stretch track that doesn't exist in the train simulator version. We're heading down to Rothenburg freight yard now, so we've diverted off the main line and we're coming down to park up in the yard here. So this is a better place to start and end freight, which means you get a more coherent journey, which I think has worked really well.
What's the pipeline on the right for? It seems quite sizable. Do you know?
I don't.
That it looks like it could just be standard utility pipes, but above ground.
Sure, someone will tell us.
A German will tell us. They'll know, because it won't be that unusual. I wouldn't have thought. Yeah, there we go. Liam's saying, could we do 10 minutes on rapid transit? No, it's not a rapid transit stream, Liam. Not gonna. There you go. There you go. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. It looks like a district heating pipe. That would do it.
Train art. There you go. Train art team got their word in.
Yeah.
Don't know who that one is.
Oh, you know what? If that just needs a bit of Photoshop, I'll submit a few. I'll put some subtle messages in that will make everybody happier.
What we've got here? Boom. I think that's a Derek thing. Derek is the one who's always saying boom.
Okay.
Dux was actually someone from the old Sterling office. So yeah, it's the graffiti's great. Like I said, as we said earlier on, it's an opportunity for people to get creative.
Definitely.
Yeah. Make their mark on the route. So we're almost at the freight yard.
What's the length of this route in time?
I think probably most journeys, if you do the full end-to-end run, probably in the order of 50 minutes an hour. If you do like stopping runs, like a stopping run from Hamburg to Bad Oldesloe, which is probably the longest stopping run you can do, would probably still be in the order of an hour, even though it's only 3/4 or 2/3 of the route, because you're obviously stopping a lot more. Whereas the express trains only stop 2 or 3 places across the length of the journey, so in the order of an hour or so.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go. You can stick the cameras on, Matt, so people know that we're real and not simulations. Not just an AI. We haven't been replaced by AI just yet. Hans Park season. Hansa Park season. If you've got feedback on the route, you're saying it's bad. Okay, let us know. Give us in-depth feedback. It's really helpful to know from people who do enjoy it and don't enjoy it equally. Just to give us a steer on where we've missed and where we've got things wrong, where we've got things right. Please let us know. But if you don't tell us, then we've got no way of knowing to improve stuff.
This is actually a new. I just want to call this out. The check rails that are on the insides when you're going over bridges, and sometimes it's only on one side of the tracks. This is a new feature we built into our track system so that we can very easily add those check rails in. That's new to this route. They've not done it before.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
So I'm going to stop here because this is where I intended to stop, and not because I got a PZB thing at all. It was totally not because of that.
You tripped PZB, didn't you?
I did. I didn't know where you did.
Well, I've got no way of knowing. I can't hear anything. All I know is that you stopped around the time I suggested we were stopping. So,
that was it. You got it. That was the intention.
Like, what do those rails do? Just for those who don't know.
Check rails. They provide extra support for the wheels because it's tighter curve. It's just more support and helps and just helps hold everything together a bit better, where it might be a little bit more flexible. Because in this, for example, you quite often find them going over bridges like here. And it just holds everything together, gives a bit more support for the train and for the wheels. Basically. Yeah, you find them sometimes on sharp corners to make sure that to try and help the wheels, because sometimes they can find it harder to stay on the rails under abnormally tight corners. Okay, all right, good. Well, thanks very much for tuning in today. Hamburg Lübeck is available for Train Sim World 2 right now. It came out today. Hooray! If you head to the Steam store, the PC, the PSN store, what's that called these days? Whatever it's called, the PlayStation store. There you go. That's safe. That's probably close.
Or the Xbox Live. Is it still called a marketplace? You know what? I'm a little bit out of touch on console. I used to play loads of
Xbox
stuff.
Shop. I don't know what it's called either.
Shoppy Shop, or the place that no, they're our partners. I should be using their correct
PlayStation
terminology.
Store, says Patriot.
Otherwise, I'll have Mike scowling at me a lot, and going, use the right words, or we will have to hurt you in a
Microsoft Store, says Ross.
a theoretical sense. Good. Tomorrow, someone is back somewhere with something. And it's going to be, I'm going to look it up once again. I haven't prepared. Oh, flipping heck, I should be better at this. Nobody is back tomorrow.
I don't think there's a stream on Friday.
There's no stream tomorrow. Our next stream will be on Monday, where I think Natalie is doing more livery designing. Or she might be talking to another developer. I'm pretty sure she's doing something. And then Tuesday is roadmap time. For those of you who like a roadmap. And all of the fun of the fair that goes along with it. Great. Good. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you on the next stream. Hope you enjoyed it. And, give us your feedback on the forums. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.